Hello guys and welcome back. So now in this video we will be adding the scope overlay to our game. Okay, so let me click on the rifle right here. As you can see, we have the sniper rifle right here. For the sniper rifle we will be adding the scope screen. Okay, so in the introductory video I have used this overlay for my sniper, but now I have found a better sniper screen. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just use this one, okay, for my sniper. And what I will suggest that you can then use this overlay for the first rifle, okay, for this rifle, because this rifle also have a scope, and for the second rifle as well, because this rifle has a scope as well. Okay, or also if you don't like these sprites, then on pngfind.com you can find other sniper crosshairs as well. Okay, so once we add this sniper sprite, you will be able to add scope screen by your own. Okay, so now let me show you how we can add our first one. For that, right here in the canvas, let's create a UI image by the name of scope, and inside the scope let's drag and drop this source image. When you do that, turn on gizmos, change to 2D, and then double click on scope. Here it is. Okay, select the scope, click on this stretch. Okay, hold down the alt button and select stretch, so that it is stretched like this on the whole screen. Then what we're gonna do, from the left side we will move these three grids, 1 2 3, like this. Okay, make sure it is fully 3. Then from this side as well, so 1 2 3. Okay, once you do that, it will be looking like this. We need to cover this right and left side, so for that, under UI select panel, make this panel fully black, make the alpha value full, change to scene view, and let's move this right here like this. Okay, it is looking good. Let's do it on the other side as well, so move it right here. As you can see, it is showing like this. So what we're gonna do now is we can select the first left side panel, select the uh, rect transform, hold down the alt button and select middle left like this, and on the other one we can select middle right like this. Then select the left one, move it to this side, select the right one, move it to this side. Okay, then if you make the game window full, as you can see, it will be looking like this. So what we're going to do, we will increase the size of this. Okay, so let's select the left one, move it right there, and then this one right here. Select the other one, do the same. Okay, now let's check it out. As you can see, it is now giving us this whole overlay perfectly fine. Okay, this whole screen. Okay, so now once we have the scope screen ready, after this we can select our camera, but let me first turn off the 2D mode and focus upon the player. Okay, now I will select the camera and duplicate it. Let's name this camera as scope camera. The camera controller will be the same, but as you know that once we have a main menu, then from the main menu we will change the sensitivity and the smooth speed of the camera, so it will also change the sensitivity and the smooth speed of our scope camera, and we don't want that. So what we're gonna do, we will go inside the scripts folder, and then inside the player we can right here create a new C# script by the name of scope camera controller. Okay, let's click on our scope camera, remove that, and then drag and drop the scope camera controller. Okay, then let's open the script, and also let's open up the camera controller script. Okay, let me close some of these scripts. Okay, now I will simply copy everything that is inside the camera controller. Okay, and I will paste it right here. That is all. Now if we click on our scope camera right here, as you can see every values are add, but we just need to drag and drop the player transform in there. And also if I open up the camera right here on the culling mask, we will remove the player because we don't want the scope camera to show the player. Okay, as you can see right here, when we remove player it doesn't show the player, and also we don't want to show these weapons when this scope camera is activated. Okay, so select all of the weapons, add a layer to them, but if you notice it is already set on the player layer. Okay, and right here we deselect the player layer, so it will not show the weapons as well with it. Okay, so I think it is good. Okay, just remove the player from the culling mask of the scope camera. Okay, so that it don't show the player or even the weapons. Okay, as you can see when it get activated it doesn't show the weapons or the player. Okay, so now we have this scope camera set up. Now what we will do, we will type a script for it. Okay, and in the script when the scope sprite and the scope camera is activated, then we can shoot using this scope, and also we will add the zoom in and out functionality as well. Okay, so for that, inside our shooting folder, let's create a new C# script by the name of scope system, and we want to add the scope system to our fourth rifle, so I will drag and drop this script in here on our sniper rifle. Let's open this up now, and in here I will remove the start and update method, and then we will create a reference to our scope image. Then we will create a float which will be our zoom speed of the scope. By default it will be 2. Then after this we need a reference to our scope camera, so we will say public camera scope camera. Then we will create a bool which will be by the name of is scoped, and using this we will know if the scope is on and off. By default it will be false. Then create a float by the name of original FOV. Now after this add update method, and in here now we will say if the mouse right button is pressed. So for that we will say input dot get mouse button down. If that is the case, then what we're gonna do, we will set the scope to not scoped, and then we will say scope image dot set active is scoped. Okay, so if his scoped is true, it will show the scope, and if it's not, then it will not show it. Okay, then we will say if it is showing the scope, then what we want to do, we want to activate the scope camera. So scope camera dot enabled equals to true. Then we will set the original FOV to the scope camera dot field of view, and then we will say scope camera dot field of view. Let's divide that and equal to the zoom speed. Okay, so this will basically zoom in. Now after this we will say else, and in the else we will deactivate the scope camera. So let me copy these lines, paste it down below, change this to false, and the actually let me copy that line, paste it right here. So the scope camera dot field of view will this time be equals to the original FOV. Alright, after this we will add another if condition, and in that we will say if the scope is true, then now using the mouse scroll view we want to zoom in and out. Okay, so first of all let's create a float by the name of zoom. It will be equals to input dot get axis mouse scroll wheel. Then we will say scope camera dot field of view minus equals to zoom, multiply that by the zoom speed, then by 10.0, or you can say just 10. Okay, after this scope camera dot field of view will be equals to mathf dot clamp. Let's parse the scope camera dot field of view, then 10, and then 80. So right here in this line we simply clamp the minimum and maximum zoom levels of the scope camera. Okay, you can change these if you want. If you have a smaller scope, then you can just set this to 10 and 50 or 40 according to your own scope. Okay, but I will leave this as from 10 to 80. So now from 10 to 80 it will zoom in and out. Okay, you can now save this scope system and get back to Unity. Right here you need to now provide the scope image, so I will drag and drop that scope image, then the scope camera, and that is all. Okay, and let me tell you the reason we added the scope system script to our fourth rifle, because on the fourth rifle we will only be uh, taking advantage of the mouse right button and showing the scope. Okay, not on the other rifles. Okay, but now if you play the game you will notice there will be an issue because our scope camera is deactivated and the camera is activated, and as you know that we only show the scope functionality using the scope camera. Okay, so what we're gonna do when the fourth rifle is activated, and then if we press the right button, then what we want to do, we want to deactivate the main camera and activate the scope camera. Okay, because for now we can't do that. So right here we already have a reference to the scope camera. Let's now copy this and paste it up here and change this to main camera. Okay, and when the mouse right button is pressed, okay, then inside this, if the is scoped is true, so if the is scoped is true, then what we want to do, we want to deactivate the main camera and activate the scope camera. So what I will say that main camera dot set active false. Okay, and this set active will give us an error. Okay, it will show that the camera class doesn't contain a definition for set active. Okay, so in order to fix that, you will need to type dot game object. Okay, like this, and then let's copy this, paste it down below and change this to now scope camera. And when it is scoped, then we want the scope camera to be true. Okay, then after this, if the scope is not on, then we want the main camera to be true and the scope camera to be false. And that is all for this. Save the script, get back right here, and let's attach the main camera in there. Okay, and make sure the scope camera is deactivated by default. Now if we play the game, okay, now if we open up our sniper, here it is. If we now turn on the scope, as you can see, here is the scope. Okay, okay, so the next thing which we will be fixing is when the scope is turn on, then we don't want to show the player UI, okay, this timer and everything, we just want to show the scope. But now if you notice, everything is working as expected. We can now zoom in, zoom out, and also if you try to shoot the zombie, as you can see, we can shoot the zombies as well. Okay, we can shoot zombies and turn end off the scope as well, as you can see. Okay, now the next thing which we will be fixing now is to not show this player UI when the scope is on. Okay, for that what I'm gonna do is I will create a different canvas, name this as scope canvas. Let's move it up here. Okay, then let me click on the scope canvas. Here it is. Let's drag and drop this scope from the first canvas to the second one which we created. So here it is. Okay, when you do that, now we have two canvases. Let me click on the fourth rifle right here. The scope is attached, but this time what we're gonna do now is instead of just the scope, we will now give this whole scope canvas to the rifle. Okay, so drag and drop the whole scope canvas in there. And what we will do now, we will say that if the scope is activated, now we will not show this other canvas. Okay, and if it is not, then we will show this canvas. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Right here after this reference, we will now say player UI, and now in here when this scope is on, we will say player UI dot game object, sorry, not game object, it is already a game object. We will say set active false, and when the scope is off, then we will say set active true. Save the script, get back to Unity, click on the fourth rifle. It now needs the player UI. Let me actually select this canvas and name this as player UI, click on the fourth rifle, drag and drop this player UI in there. Okay, and also let's deactivate the scope canvas by default. Now if we play the game, okay, let's select the sniper. Here it is. Now if we turn on the scope, as you can see, the player UI is deactivated. Okay, and we can only see the scope. Now if we remove the scope, now as you can see, we can see the player UI and everything is also updated. We kill one zombie. So now in the same manner, you can now create a scope for this first rifle. Just simply drag and drop the scope system script right here, create a scope canvas for it. Okay, and drag and drop your sprite in that canvas, set it up, and then when you select this rifle, press the right button and it will show the scope. Okay, that is a task for you guys, so just simply go ahead and do that and then let me know that if you guys added scope to other rifles or not. Okay, and with this done, let's end this video right here.